Welcome to Come Follow Me Primary. This week we'll study the lesson called I Have Remembered My Covenant, covering Exodus chapters 1 through 6. Let's get started. God does not forget his people. After Jacob's family settled in Egypt thanks to Joseph, many years passed and a new pharaoh arose who no longer remembered who Joseph had been. Over time, Israel's descendants were enslaved and began to suffer under very heavy burdens. In the midst of that pain, many may have wondered if God had forgotten them or the covenant he had made with their ancestors. Sometimes we too may have similar questions when going through difficult times. Does God know what I'm experiencing? Does he hear my prayers? The story of Israel's deliverance teaches us something very important. God does not forget his people. He remembers his covenants and at the right time fulfills his promises. As the Lord declared, he would stretch out his arm to redeem them and bring them out from their burdens. In the early chapters of Exodus, we see the people of Israel living in slavery and suffering. For a long time, they cried out to the Lord for help, and the scriptures teach that God heard their cry, remembered his covenant, and decided to set them free. This story can also be compared to our own difficulties. Sometimes we feel spiritual burdens, problems, or situations that seem to trap us. In those moments, we can also turn to the Lord and ask for his help. The book of Exodus reminds us that God sees our suffering and hears our prayers. He promised that he would come down to deliver his people, and he finally did. In the same way, Jesus Christ is our true deliverer. He has the power to help us, lift us up in our trials, and free us from sin and spiritual burdens when we trust in him. The new pharaoh feared the Israelites were growing too numerous, so he ordered their baby boys killed. Among those children, one was saved, Moses. In Exodus chapters 1 and 2, we see how several women played a crucial role in God's plan. The Hebrew midwives disobeyed Pharaoh's order to kill the Israelite boys because they feared God. Later, when Moses was born, his mother hid him for 3 months to protect him. When she could no longer hide him, she placed him in a basket among the reeds of the Nile River. Moses' sister Miriam watched from a distance to see what would happen. Then Pharaoh's daughter found the baby and felt compassion for him. She even allowed Moses' own mother to nurse him during his early years. Thanks to the courage and faith of these women, Moses' life was preserved. Years later, God would call him to free Israel from slavery. This story reminds us that God can accomplish great purposes through people who simply choose to do what's right. The story of Moses also shows us that God's work is almost never accomplished by just one person. Although Moses would be the leader who delivered Israel, many people helped make that possible. The Hebrew midwives protected the Israelite babies when Pharaoh ordered them killed. Moses' mother hid him to save his life. His sister Miriam watched the basket in the river and helped arrange for their own mother to care for him. Even Pharaoh's daughter showed compassion and decided to adopt him. Later, when Moses fled Egypt, he was also helped by Jethro's daughters, who gave him refuge and support. All these people, through seemingly small actions, helped God's plan move forward. This teaches us that everyone can contribute to God's work. Sometimes the simplest acts of faith, kindness, or courage can help fulfill purposes far greater than we imagine. Moses grew up to become someone important in Egypt, but one day he had to flee after seeing an Egyptian beating a Hebrew. In trying to defend him, Moses killed the Egyptian and hid his body in the sand. When Pharaoh found out what happened, he wanted to kill him, so Moses decided to escape to save his life. Moses fled to the land of Midian. There he helped some young women who were trying to water their flocks and were being harassed by other shepherds. Through this, he met the young women's father Jethro, who welcomed him into his home. Moses stayed to live in Midian. He married Zipporah, Jethro's daughter, and worked as a shepherd tending flocks for several years. While he was shepherding in Exodus chapter 3, we find one of the most sacred moments of Moses' life. While tending the flock, he saw a bush burning with fire, yet it was not consumed. When he approached, the Lord spoke to him and told him not to come closer and to remove his sandals, because the place where he stood was holy ground. Moses responded with humility and reverence. He even covered his face because he felt respect and awe in God's presence. This experience teaches us that when something is sacred, we must treat it with respect. In our lives, there are also sacred things and places: the scriptures, the temple, prayer, and the spiritual moments we experience. Showing reverence means treating them with care, respect, and gratitude, always remembering how special they are. When the Lord called Moses to deliver Israel, he didn't feel capable of doing it. Moses expressed several concerns. He doubted himself, thought the people wouldn't believe him, and felt he lacked the ability to speak well. However, the Lord answered each of his doubts. He promised to be with him, gave him signs to show his power, and sent help through his brother Aaron. This story teaches us something important. God often calls people who don't feel ready, but when the Lord calls, he also gives the strength, guidance, and power needed to fulfill his work. Similarly, when we feel something is difficult or that we're not enough, we can remember that God can help and strengthen us to do what he asks. In these chapters, we see how the people of Israel went from living in peace in Egypt to suffering harsh slavery. Despite their suffering, God didn't forget them, heard their cry, and remembered the covenant he had made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We also learn that God can fulfill his purposes through faithful people like the women who protected Moses' life. Later, the Lord called Moses to free his people, and though he felt incapable, God promised to be with him. These stories teach us that the Lord sees our difficulties, hears our prayers, and has the power to free us and help us fulfill his work. We are Daniela Trejo and Fernando Cavaletti, and this is Come, Follow Me Primary. Stay for the trivia. This week we learned the story of Moses. Let's test what you know. What happened to the people of Israel in Egypt after many years? A. They became kings. B. They moved to another country. C. They were enslaved. D. They built temples. Correct. God saw their suffering and didn't forget them. Who is our true deliverer? A. Moses. B. Aaron. C. Pharaoh. D. Jesus Christ. Very good. He has the power to help and free us. What did Moses' mother do to save him as a baby? A. She hid him and put him in a basket in the river. B. She took him to the temple. C. She left him with the soldiers. D. She sent him to another country. Good. God can use small acts to fulfill great purposes. What did Moses do when he saw the burning bush? A. He put it out. B. He ran away. C. He took off his sandals because it was holy ground. D. He called other people. Good. We must show respect for sacred things. Let's raise the stakes a bit, so call your whole family. Why didn't the Hebrew midwives obey Pharaoh's order? A. Because they feared Pharaoh. B. Because they feared God. C. Because they didn't want to work. D. Because they wanted to flee. Correct. They chose to obey God rather than men. When God called Moses, how did he help him feel capable? A. He promised to be with him and sent help. B. He replaced him. C. He gave him riches. D. He left him alone. God strengthens those he calls. How many did you get right? Tell us in the comments.
Welcome to Come Follow Me Primary. This is sharing time where each week I'll teach you to draw something new. Today we're going to learn to draw Moses. You'll need white paper, a pencil, pen or marker, and colored pencils or markers. Start by drawing a small circle. On each side, add little ears like a letter C with a small line inside. To make Moses' body, we'll draw the following shape. It'll look a lot like the number 8. Inside, we'll add some lines because this will be the baby's blanket. Now, around the baby's body, we're going to draw an oval. And we'll repeat the shape. On each side, we'll make the basket's handles. So draw something like a letter C and repeat the shape inside. Do this on each side. On the last lines we drew, we'll add horizontal lines all the way around the baby. Inside the handles too. Now let's draw the baby's face. For the nose, we'll just make a small curve. The eyebrows will be 2 slanted lines. The smile like a letter U. And we're going to make the eyes closed. So just make 2 little curves. To give it better detail, and since this basket was on a river, we're going to make some waves around the basket. And now you're ready to fill it with color. We remind you that this week you'll continue learning about Moses. We'll begin his story from when he was a baby. We hope you had as much fun as we did making this drawing. That's all for today, but we'll see you in the next Come Follow Me primary video. See you soon.
Time for shout-outs. Thanks for drawing with us this week. We're sending a shout-out to
Gael y Daina Baque, de Ecuador. Naín Cigales, de Uruguay, Estaca Maldonado, Barrio San Carlos. Daniel Alfayo, de Veracruz, Barrio Floresta. Livia y Laura, de Santa Catarina, Brasil. Sofía Cardoso, del barrio Fisherton, Estaca Rosario Norte, en Rosario, Argentina. Alonso de la Torre Salas, del barrio Bellavista de Monclova, Coahuila. Maxi Cando, de Quito, Ecuador. Saria y Cristina Boror, del barrio Económica, Estaca Milagro, en Guatemala. Adamaris y Cristal Recinos, Estaca La Esperanza, barrio La Leyenda, en Guatemala. Iris y Luna Mejía, del barrio Puerto Nuevo, en Guayaquil, Ecuador. Delfina Mella, barrio 13, Estaca Norte, en Montevideo, Uruguay. Eduardo Hurtado Márquez, de Lima, Perú. Alesa, Estaca Cumbica, en Brasil. Ruth Aimé Sosa Santana, de Rama La Punta, San Luis, Argentina. Sujei y Servando Chávez Magadán, de Barrio Lomas, en Nuevo Casas Grandes, Chihuahua. Mariana Villatoro, Huehuetenango, Guatemala. Ainara Valeria, de la Torre Leiva, y Alondra Danet, de la Torre Leiva, en Barrio Elche 1, El Altet, España. Isaac Martín Cando, de Quito, Ecuador. Regina Rivero Aranda, Sofía Rivero Aranda y Daniela Martínez García, de Ciudad de México. Luana y Gianna, de Guayaquil, Ecuador. Solángel Noguera, desde Venezuela. Luan Márquez, Barrio Asturias, Estaca La Libertad, Santa Tecla, El Salvador. Nefi Petlacalco Castillo, de Tizmín, Yucatán. Carlitos, Andreita y Logan Pedrosa, de Idaho. Abril y Sergio, de Barrio Tres Cerritos, en Puebla. Laura Bustamante y Jacob Bustamante, de Barrio Centro, Estaca Montevideo Oeste, Uruguay. Celeste Lucía Barreto Ortega, de Barranquilla, Colombia, y a su tía Nini. Bianca Rea, de Barrio Cobu Creek, en West Jordan, Utah. Susanita Mendoza, de la rama Tojocas, en Huehuetenango. Jordan Taiza y Hazel Barrenechea, del barrio Breña, Estaca Pueblo Libre, de Lima, Perú. Laura Jazmín, Barrio Zacatenco, Estaca Linda Vista, en la Ciudad de México. Aaron Sandoval, en Utah. David Orlando Carrasco, Barrio Alamedas, Nuevo Casas Grandes. Paulette y Jensen Bielman, Chicago, Illinois. Emiliano Ruiz García, Barrio Pirámides, Estaca Querétaro. Mateo Méndez, de Guatemala. Maite Gonzabay Peralta, del barrio Puerto Nuevo. Suri Amairani Hernández, del barrio Vista Hermosa, de Atlixco, Puebla. Paulo y Valeria Ledesma, del barrio Bellavista, Estaca Lomas Verdes. Irina Giselle Aro Ramírez, del Estado de México, en Cuautitlán Izcalli, barrio Perinorte, Estaca Bosques. Alesia Fernández, desde el Progreso, Lloro, Honduras. Tiago Chung de Lama, barrio Izaguirre, Estaca Las Palmeras, en Lima, Perú. Lari Solano, el barrio La Rita, en Costa Rica. Mateo Salom, barrio Recreo, Estaca Paraíso, en Barranquilla, Colombia. Jimena Rivera, barrio Picacho, en Ciudad de México. Romina, barrio Picacho, en Ciudad de México. Ángel Tec, de la ciudad Playa del Carmen, barrio Playa del Carmen. Samuel y Belén Chicará, del barrio Quetzal, Estaca Milagro, en Guatemala. Aarón Ovejero Somoza, barrio de Aranjuez, en la Estaca Madrid Sur, en España. Ruth Aimé Sosa Santana, de Rama La Punta, San Luis, Argentina. Félix y Adriana Menocal, Estaca Managua, barrio Bello Amanecer, en Nicaragua. Ariela Brito de Jesús, Estaca Salvador Norte. Santiago Hernández, barrio Nenecuilco, Morelos. Arit Said y Oliver, desde la rama Estrela, en Brasil. Lucas Ojeda, barrio Las Avenidas, en Chile. Mateo Celaya, Estaca Medellín Norte, en Colombia. Daniel Alfayo Castañeda, del barrio Floresta, en Veracruz, México. José Leonardo, barrio Niquia, en Medellín, Colombia. Antonio Fuero Zárate, de la rama Huancavelica, en Perú. Alejandro Fuero Zárate, rama Huancavelica, en Perú. Lucía Vilorio, en Honduras, Tegucigalpa. Josefa Zurita, del barrio Lobo Valle, Estaca Quilicura, en Santiago, Chile. Jacob y David, barrio Jardines, Estaca Tizayuca, en Hidalgo. Isaí Hernández Bolio, barrio Constituyentes, Estaca Veracruz Puerto, en Veracruz. Perla Arévalo, en Ecuador, barrio Sinaí, Estaca Fortín. Asenet y Elam López Flores, del barrio Lerma, Estaca Lerma. Juan Manuel y Ángel Isaac, de la rama Cimatlán, en Estaca Oaxaca, México. Ezra Rodrigo y Paolo Emilio Vázquez Pérez, de la Estaca Quetzaltenango Oeste, barrio Los Altos. Ana Julia Ruiz, desde Utah. Melissa Naomi, del barrio Corona, Saltillo, Coahuila. Caleb y Elías, de León, Guanajuato. Natasha Juárez, desde Argentina, Misiones. Yauri Romero, Estaca Imbaya, barrio Imbaya. Melissa Ribeiro Ramos, distrito de Colatina, en Brasil. Pedro Alegría Moya, barrio Locañas, Estaca La Florida, en Chile. Aarón Aravena, barrio Lovalle, Estaca Quilicura, Santiago, Chile. Lía Martínez Hernández, Estaca Navarrete, barrio Navarrete 2, en República Dominicana. Jafet y Ezra Vez, de Estaca Aguascalientes Jardines, barrio Aguascalientes. Juan Emilio Mendoza, Ana Paula Mendoza y Astrid Marcela Mendoza, de la Estaca Calvario, en Huehuetenango, Guatemala. Cristel Triviño, del barrio La Pradera. Diana y Juan Pablo, del barrio Fusa, desde Colombia. Austin, desde Ecuador, barrio Bolívar. Kiori, desde Colombia. Samuel Aburto Rivera, de Santiago, Chile. Mateo Sebastián y Santiago Lorenzo, desde Tumbes, Perú. Evangelina Beltrán, barrio Obelisco, Estaca 33, Uruguay. Samira Disla Rosario, desde República Dominicana, barrio Salcedo. Bella Antonella Romero Cucaita, de la rama Llano Lindo, en Colombia. Liam Itisi, de la rama Bellavista, Estaca Sarmiento, de Buenos Aires, Argentina. Antonella Orellana, Estaca San Salvador, El Salvador. Julieta Pinochet, del barrio Mirador, en Chile. Dacia Melina, desde Aguascalientes. Sara Eridani Mejía Juárez, barrio Vista Hermosa, Estaca Tlixco. Eucarli, de Venezuela. Martín Emanuel Mejía Juárez, del barrio Vista Hermosa, Estaca Tlixco. Vishnu y Evelyn Patrac, del barrio Cosamaloapan, Estaca Tuxtepec, en Veracruz. Mildred, Claudia y Dulce Mendoza, de Guatemala. Leilani Gael y Neftalí, del barrio La Conquista, en Culiacán, Sinaloa. Máximo Ciro Aguilar Quintano, del barrio San Francisco, Estaca Heredia, en Costa Rica. Rayen Aravena Chávez, del barrio Cartagena, en Chile. Lisandro y Germán, del barrio Juchitán, en Oaxaca. Bianca Arenas, desde Texas. Kylie y Hailey Ramos León. Miranda, del barrio Izcalli, Estaca Cuautitlán. Hanna Sofía Lomote García, del barrio Jaén, Estaca Jaén, en Cajamarca, Perú. Sol Ángel, desde Venezuela. Luana y Gianna, de Guayaquil, Ecuador, Estaca Orquídeas. Emilio y Esteban Garibaldi, del barrio El Rancho, en Las Vegas, Nevada, y también a sus papás por enviarnos su dibujo. Domenica Ortiz, del barrio Bellavista, en Quito, Ecuador. Mateo Arévalo, en Ecuador. Ariel, Estaca Industrial, barrio Victoria. Natalia Ivana Carrasco Ayala, del barrio Alamedas, Estaca Dublán, en Nuevo Casas Grandes, Chihuahua. David Orlando Carrasco, en barrio Alamedas, Nuevo Casas Grandes. Liam Barrueta, Huánuco, Perú. Luna e Iris Mejía, desde Guayaquil, Ecuador. Elisapeta Faupusa, de la rama Río Colorado. Lía Yasmín Hernández Pérez, de Reynosa, Tamaulipas, Estaca Reynosa Este, barrio Rodríguez. Sara del Ángel, del barrio El Molino, en Ciudad de México. Ariel, del barrio Victoria, Estaca Industrial. Bianca, desde Bolivia. Domenica Ortiz, del barrio Bellavista en Quito, Ecuador. Sofía, Dulce y Sara, desde la rama Villa Ahumada en Chihuahua. Briana Cortés, desde Argentina. Sofía Viera Carvajal, desde Santa Lucía, Uruguay. Fátima Hernández Ibarra, del barrio Hidalgo, Iztacapalmas, en Poza Rica, Veracruz. Emma Ruiz, desde Temuco, Chile. Jessie y Taisley, Tepocatelo, Idaho.
We loved your drawings this week. If yours hasn't shown up yet, don't worry, it'll be in the next video for sure. Remember to send it to siguemeprimariazud@gmail.com. See you next time.